Well, if you've been out in the valley or even in Anchorage, you might have seen a sight that looks just a little bit more like Halloween rather than Thanksgiving, which is coming up very soon. So thank you, Maggie German Saporito, for this photo in Wasilla. Now, looking at our weather headlines, you can expect to see warnings all through the interior for winter weather, as well as storm warnings across the western Aleutians. But slick roads and foggy conditions are expected to last through tomorrow at 1 p.m. That's for Anchorage into the valley, so be careful with those road hazards. And temperatures are beginning to drop statewide. So I'll tell you a little bit more as to why we're seeing those cooler temperatures. But just looking at our satellite and radar, you can see these winter storm and winter weather advisories underway in the interior. But I want you to focus on this storm warning out in the western Aleutians. Now, this is mostly going to bring moderate rainfall as well as some fairly strong winds, and even in ADAC where we're starting to see some of these conditions, we're seeing those wind gusts peak up into 40-mile-per-hour winds. It could lead to potential for 60 to 65-mile-per-hour winds, but that's going to taper off into early tomorrow morning and then calm down for the rest of Sunday. So expect those impacts overnight. But over into the interior, we're looking at winter weather all across the region. The special weather statement is for that snow potential, but all of these warnings are for that snow potential. So what's highlighted in pink is going to bring up to 5 inches of snow. This is mostly true for areas up into the White Mountains, and what's highlighted in purple is true for Fairbanks all the way out into Delta Junction. This is where you can expect to see 1 to 3 inches of snow. But for Fairbanks more specifically, I think you'll get between a trace to an inch of snow. So not really a whole lot is expected. And even just looking at our projected snowfall, we're not seeing a whole lot for Fairbanks. We're seeing just a little bit more add up out in Eagle and in Delta Junction. And that's why we're seeing that 1 to 3 inches of snow projected. But those higher elevations are where you can expect to see just a little bit more snowfall. Now, as we look ahead, you'll see this very weak low pressure system. This is just bringing in some scattered showers into southeast, so expect some light rain for the panhandle for tomorrow. But then also this low pressure system is really what's bringing in these winds as well as that moderate rainfall into the western Aleutians. So that front associated with that low is going to start to stretch up the panhandle by Sunday afternoon. Even going into Monday, we'll expect to see even more showers pushing just north into Kodiak. Now, looking at our jet stream forecast, this high pressure system right here is the whole reason we're actually seeing clearer conditions out in western Alaska. This high pressure system is also the reason why we're seeing those cooler temperatures statewide. It's beginning to rotate clockwise, and that's why we're seeing this Arctic air being pushed and pulled down into Alaska. So that's what's bringing in those slightly cooler temperatures statewide. And there is that very weak low pressure system with that jet stream pulling in some moisture into southeast Alaska. So here's a glimpse at those temperature changes from yesterday. You can see we're already 7 degrees cooler into Nome, and that's right where that high pressure system is. So it's kind of interesting to see how that weather really starts to associate with those air masses. Now, just looking at southeast, you'll see light precipitation across the region. We're expecting to see some light snow and even light rain, but those temperatures are about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than normal. But over into the interior, we're still seeing these winter weather advisories and winter storm warnings through tomorrow around noon. And then these temperatures are ranging between 15 degrees to 10 degrees for that high. So expect some light rain and some light snow to push across that region. But up in the North Slope, we're seeing these temperatures 10 to 15 degrees for that high. Mostly cloudy skies expected. And out into western Alaska, we're seeing mostly sunny skies to partly cloudy skies. Those temperatures are ranging quite a bit, 19 degrees for Nome, and even just a little bit colder towards Galena, where we're seeing some cloudier conditions pushing in. Now for the Aleutians, we're seeing mostly rain for ADAC. That's where heavier rounds of that moisture is pushing in, but you'll notice these wind gusts are relatively stronger out towards those western islands rather than up towards the Alaska Peninsula. Now into South Central, we're seeing those mostly sunny skies all across the region, but we're also seeing these temperatures starting to dip a little bit cooler than what we've been seeing previously. You'll notice even into the valley, we're about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than what we were earlier this past week. You'll also notice this highlighted gray area. This is stretching all the way down into Anchorage, and that is that fog advisory that we're expecting to see all the way until tomorrow afternoon. So expect those cooler temperatures to start to push on through. You can see that dip down by Tuesday, then climbing back up just a little bit more towards the end of the week. And even into Fairbanks, we're seeing those cooler temperatures pulling on through towards the rest of your work week and even into the weekend. So Michaela, Fairbanks is expecting to see just a little bit of a wintry mix.